Businesses, we all want to own them. We've got one. We're going to show you the best ways of optimizing that business and getting the money that you want from it so we can all become rich together. So increasing the value in the business that we've got, what are some of the things that you'd recommend to other people that are just starting out?
Easy. First one, vision and mission. Having a business without a vision, without a mission, is a business going nowhere, because the best businesses, the biggest businesses, and the most valuable businesses are solving problems for a wide audience of people, and they set themselves a mission to get there. So Nike, that business came about because Phil Knight, the creator and founder of Nike, wanted to create the best running shoe that he could possibly make to help runners increase their track times, help the US Olympic team to beat out the rest of the competition. And it was his dream to help aid elite performers in the field of running. And so what he did was, that was his vision. So his mission then was how he went about achieving that. And to begin with, he partnered with a company called Onitsuka in Japan. He spent months and months trying to source and trying to procure the best possible running shoe that he could use as a foundation for his business, that's only mission was to improve the sprinter or the long distance runner's ability to get the job done well. So vision and mission, massively important.
And to add on to that, the other thing that's almost the third piece of the puzzle with that is the culture, because it's all good and well having the vision and the mission, but you need to then have the team that wants to pull alongside that and believe in the mission and the vision, because if they don't believe in it, you're going to be the only one in a sailing boat of one just trying to sail that boat, and you need a whole team of people to get you to your end destination.
Without a doubt. And something that we do, and I'll be honest, I picked this up from Stephen Bartlett. Really, really important piece to the puzzle is that culture fit, because you are only as good as your team. You can put all of the provisions in place to ensure that you are going to actively achieve the vision and the mission. But at the end of the day, it's a team sport. A business is simply a group of people working together to either sell a product or sell a service. And if that team isn't fulfilling the need of the business to actually achieve the vision and the mission because the culture isn't right, you are never going to be able to hit that mark. And so having a strong culture is so important. So what Steve Bartlett does is he pictures all of his team and puts their names into a metaphorical hat, or even actually taking this exercise to its extreme, but actually getting every single one of your team members, put their names into a hat, take one at random and evaluate that name and use them as the yardstick for your business's culture. And if you were to pull out John Smith, and we use John Smith and say, if everybody in the business had a culture that was aligned with John, would the culture of the business go up? Would it go down? Or would it stay the same? Now, the important thing with this is, if the culture would go up, John needs a promotion. He needs to be a manager, because he is one of the active promoters of your business who is pushing the culture forward, and he is one of your golden hires, and you need to look after these people and nurture them and put them in a position of seniority, because management should be pushing your vision and your mission and your culture all at the same time onto the team that are working underneath them. And it's like this cascading waterfall effect. So if it's not coming from the top, you've got a massive problem. But it's, again, if you've got a block somewhere down the line where you hit a wall with your management and they haven't got the culture and they're not buying into the vision and mission, how can they then pass that down onto the team that are working underneath them? And so if you've pulled out John's name from the hat and the vision, mission, and culture would improve through promoting him, do so. If the culture was to fall below the standard as to where it currently is, sorry to say, John, sayonara, it's right out the front door with you.
Well, yeah, no, it would be, because you wouldn't want to then be spreading that sort of, I mean, normally you call it the bad apple, but if you've got a bad apple, and that is, say, unfortunately, John in this situation, you've then just created a whole team of bad apples and the whole cart's going to get rotten.
100%. So if it's good, promotion. If it's bad, get rid of them. If it stays the same, that's where you want to be trying to incentivize, or you want to be trying to look to train that staff member further and speaking to them and giving them more insight, because at the end of the day, it's all good and well from a business owner's perspective to talk about vision, mission, and culture and stick it on a board somewhere and then forget about it. Because vision, mission, and culture, it isn't something that you can just talk about once and then just leave it in the background, because it will never be adopted by the team if you just create a silly little sign, stick it in the office, and then say, this is now our new vision, mission, and culture. Your team need to buy into it, and that takes continuous training and continuous reinforcement of that culture. And it's something that the whole team, you need to discuss with them, like you've said, and make sure that everyone's on board, because there's no point in taking on a culture of honesty if the whole team has decided against that and doesn't feel like it's a value that they can align with, because you've just decided as a leader at the top to say, we're all going to be really honest now. And your team underneath are thinking, well, we're not honest on our day-to-day dealings with customers or suppliers or whatever it might be. So just because you've wrote it on a board or on a piece of paper doesn't mean that we're immediately going to adopt it. So they need that training and they need that reinforcement.
I mean, especially if you're working in somewhere like a jeweler's. Honesty would be a pretty key one. But yeah, I've brushed on it in the past, but what we've done with the culture is we got the team together and asked everyone else in the team what you think the culture of the business is before it was set. And this was in the early embers for us. And it was really nice to hear what everyone else's, they put some of their visions down, but more personal, but to see what the culture fit was for them and what they felt that it was. And it was pretty aligned across the board anyway, but it's never been set in stone and it's never been, really promoted. So we've taken that, under our roof, and we've seen a massive improvement in work-life balance and people enjoying themselves coming into work rather than just coming in thinking, oh, I've got to come in 9 to 5, got to just get me pay and then leave. People tend to stay longer as well after hours because they feel like, they've got a contribution to the company.
Exactly. They feel a part of the business, and any good leader needs to understand that their team is their most valuable asset in 90% of cases. Their team and potentially the systems that help the team do the job that they're trying to do, they're your two most valuable assets. And if your team aren't buying into the business, you're not going to have a business that works or that is going to succeed or scale. So ensure that the vision, mission, and culture is super strong.
I think another one that's huge is the environment of which the staff and yourself are going to be working in. So, and we know what it's like when we've worked in a warehouse and that was our only place of work. It was extremely cramped. There wasn't many offices. There's loud noises because of pallets moving, machines operating, things like that. And it's not conducive. And I think some people will put up with it but don't like it. And instead now with the second site that we've got, we've put in pool table and, people don't even really tend to use it apart from on breaks. But it's nice to have it there, that it seems like an environment you want to work in. It's clean, it's nice. People are more likely to get on rather than being in a, even if it's a warehouse, you can still make it nice. And, it's very, very important.
Don't go too far with it though, please.
No, don't have a dartboard.
Don't end up like Twitter, where you've got people working on a beanbag doing yoga and meditating for 8 hours a day and then working for 30 minutes. Because we've seen with Elon Musk, when he goes in and obliterates 80% of the workforce without affecting output, please don't over leverage and overhead your staff just for the sake of being able to be all inclusive and all singing, all dancing. Just because you're trying to be nice. You need to create a strong working environment for the team that you have within the business, that people can come in, it's clean, it's tidy, and it's a strong working environment where people want to be there, but don't take it too far where you end up like a Google with a massive slide in the center. One of the next big things that businesses need to do to increase their value is make sure that they are consistently asking their customers what their problems are and then go about solving them. I cannot tell you how few businesses are actually speaking to their customers and asking what they can do to actually help them and make them better as a business. A business, a customer supplier partnership, or business to business, whatever you want to call it, even business to consumer, whatever you want to call it, is simply a transaction of one business helping another business solve a problem. And the more problems that you can solve for your customers, the more that you'll get paid. But too few businesses are actually spending the time to speak to their customers on a daily, weekly, monthly basis and ask them what problems are facing their company, because they're too busy focused on their own business and what they want to change and how to improve their own business. And it's so selfish, and it's this self-centered mindset of a lot of business owners where they're thinking about their own marketing, their own sales process, their own team, their own training, that they've completely forgotten that the number one rule of their business is to help solve their customers' problems.
Yeah. One of the major things that's changed in and improved my sales in 2024 was to ask the customer questions. And instead of assuming that you know all the answers already, let the customer tell you what they want, and then you solve those problems. So it's like, they know where the problems lie. So if you just ask rather than assuming that, they hate the payment terms and they hate that their supplier's late and they hate this and hate that. But in reality, when you say all that and they go, no, our supplier's actually all great at all that. It's just something else that we don't like. And you go, we can do that as well. You're better off asking the question in the first place, finding out what they need, and then solving that need.
Feeding off of pretty much what you've just said then is not only asking the questions and solving the problems, strive for perfection in everything that you're doing. And this applies to not just within a business, but outside of it as well. Take pride in the job that you're doing. Strive for that perfection in everything that you're actually trying to attempt, because when your customers are dealing with you on a day-to-day basis, they can tell so easily if you're half-arsing any job that you're carrying out for them, whether it's something as simple as a landscaping business, which is quite easy to tell because it's an aesthetic, quite immediately obvious good job or bad job. Mm-hmm. If you've brought somebody in to come and mow Old Trafford's lawn for the next game, and somebody's missed a line or somebody's gone away from the standard pattern, everybody in the crowd would be going, who've they got in to come and mow the lawn? Was he blind? It sounds silly, but it's something that you can tell that job is done to perfection. There's a system in place. There's a process that is carried out to get that pitch match day perfect. Each and every time, not a blade of grass is out of place for those players, because they need perfection, because they are working to the highest level. So they can't just have somebody turn up with his lawnmower from B&Q and start chopping away. They need perfection. So guess what? They pay the people, whether they probably self-employ because it's done that frequently, but they pay the people to do that job very well to ensure it's done to perfection. Whereas if they got the local lad from the house up the road with his dad's lawnmower in, he'd probably only charge 20 quid. Whereas they probably get $2,000 to do the lawn every day or every week, whatever it is, because of the level of perfection they've done. So the better quality job that you're doing, the higher you can charge for it.
I mean, the environment as well is absolutely key again in that exact analogy, where if you'd hired someone else that is doing a terrible job and the players look at the pitch and go, oh, that's not very good, and the locker room wasn't cleaned properly, and it was, some days it's all right and some days it's not, it then translates to the staff or the players that when they play, they're not in the mindset of being a winning mindset, because they're just probably looking at their own environment thinking, well, the grass hasn't been cut right, and the changing rooms weren't painted until since last year or 3 years ago. So again, it feeds back into the environment being extremely important as well.
Just all you have to do is compare it to like League Two or your local Sunday league. You're playing on like a rugby pitch, which doubles up as a football pitch, which doubles up as a hockey pitch. And I know they do events sometimes at some of these arenas, obviously, so potentially shooting myself in the foot a little bit. But the reality is, not a blade of grass is out of place. It's got to be perfect because they are playing top flight, elite level. And that's why perfection, if you are going to do anything in business, ask yourself, am I doing the best job that I possibly can? Am I serving my customers in the best possible way? Because it isn't about being the cheapest. It's about being the best. And if your business can confidently say that you are the best at what you do, trust me, you will never compete on price. You will compete on the value that you offer. And because you're the best, you won't even have to compete on that. You will tell them how much that you are charging for your services. And if they argue with it, you simply tell them that this is the price to pay to work with the best. And if they don't want to pay that much money, go and find number 2, number 3, 4, or 5, but they will not get the best. And this is exactly why people like Cristiano Ronaldo get paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, Tiger Woods millions, Michael Jordan millions and millions, because they're the best at what they do. And that commands a high return on the investment.
Yeah, and even companies do it where they don't, Apple, when was the last time Apple had a sale on the phones? They don't, do they? Because the value is in the phone. They don't discount the value they give. They know the value of the product. If you want one, that's what it is. They don't, any of the new models, I think probably the old models, I don't know. But, the new models, they're never going to go Black Friday sales.
No, they're not. And they've created a strong brand identity. So again, nice lead on to the next point of increasing your business's value, brand identity. It's so huge. And again, it all ties in with everything we've said up to now: vision, mission, culture, striving for perfection, creating that environment. If your business gets a reputation for being haphazard, for being slow, for being poor quality, guess what? Your competition are going to absolutely sail past you because they're the ones that are holding themselves to that higher standard. They've created the strong brand identity. They can charge ridiculous fees. Think of companies that are all the luxury brands that we know and love: Rolex, Louis Vuitton, Prada, Gucci, Chanel, whatever you want to think of, Tiffany's, whether they're selling diamonds. You will never find a quality issue with any of those brands because they strive for perfection. And guess what? They charge £2,000 for a bag that costs them £100 in materials. But what you're paying for is the brand identity.
Yeah. And, you see it with everything. And that's what, Coca-Cola or McDonald's or KFC and all these companies, they've managed to, over years and years and years, build up a brand to which that, they either serve the masses at lower costs or a niche at extremely high costs for the most part.
Yeah, and we've just done a business on building a brand, so we'll stick that in the description or somewhere on the screen to take you to that episode. And for me, again, it's one of the most forgotten traits of a business is that everybody has a reputation, both as an individual, but also your brand's name. Our business, Cola, was named after both me and you, Cody, Tyler, Cola. So for me, it holds so much esteem and it's something that I care so deeply about. And I care how people perceive our business because my name's in it. It was named after me from our dad. And I want to create a reputation of our business, one of perfection, one of great quality, one of amazing customer service, incredible value. And on the adverse to that, I would be doing our family a disservice if I was to just allow the quality to be poor, allow ourselves to let customers down all the time, not offer great value to our partners. Because at the end of the day, all they're going to start saying is, you're not worth what we're paying you. So we'll either go somewhere else, or we need you to reduce your prices and we'll give you a penny on the pound.
Yeah, absolutely 100%. And one of the other things that I've found extremely useful in increasing the value of the business is speaking to the employees on the ground. Now, I think Elon Musk's a massive advocate as well for this, where he goes in and speaks to as many employees as he can to find out that the jobs that they're doing and understand, if it's a job role that he wants to get rid of, or if it's useful, or if it is, then he'll speak to them and then try and implement that and share the knowledge around the relevant members. But when we've done it, we understand, we'll ask the question, how do you find your job and do you enjoy it? And, for the most part, you get a yes. But you also can ask them, how would you improve the efficiencies and what could we do within your role to help you improve the efficiency, whether it's software or whether it's hardware. And they're very appreciative of us asking those questions because that they know that we care about their work, what they're doing for their work.
Well, the shock for me when somebody told me this is that as a business owner, and to any business owners that are listening, you don't know the most about your business. The staff within the business who are on the ground completing those jobs, completing those tasks day in, day out, know more about those elements of your business than you do. That is just a fact. So if you want to find out about the sales of your business, conversion rates, sales processes, and how to increase that, don't just shout orders down from the top. You need to get yourselves into the mix, go down to your sales team, speak to them and ask them, what are they currently doing to gain market share? What are they currently doing to convert leads? What are they currently doing within their sales process to ensure that they're converting the most number of leads possible? And then find a way to work with them rather than just shouting down an order from the top because you're not involved in sales on a day-to-day basis. So it is really important, as you said, to get yourselves out from the ivory tower and go into the actual workforce and speak to the team about how you can improve it together.
Well, this is why I loved what, our dad did, that when we first joined, it wasn't about, all right, come up into the director's office and you can just start doing exactly that. Shout down orders to everyone. Oh, go and pack that box and do that and do it. This. What we actually were doing was started from the bottom and sorting parts, getting our hands dirty. And only when we were competent in those roles were we then actually moved up to, sales, but by no means sales manager. And then dipping our toes in with things like purchasing, then dipping our toes in with finance, and then doing all these things first to completely try and get as much of an understanding as we can of the entire picture rather than just from one vantage point.
It does help as a business owner to know all of the facets of the business that you're in, but don't be disillusioned to think that you're the best person to serve each area of your business. You're not. And the reality is, even within our business, there is somebody out there that does a better job or would do a better job of running our business than us two, because they've done it. They've taken a business from 5 to 10 to 20 million to 50 million. And the only reason we haven't got there yet is because we don't know how. We're on that journey of learning. We're on that journey of trying to get there and increase our business's value by implementing some of these things. But even on this list of things we're going through, there's going to be business owners out there who are at that 50 million, 100 million that would look at our business, and there's going to be a simple piece of the puzzle that we might be missing. So shout out to anybody that's listening that has that
Leave
solution.
A comment.
Let us know. But there are people out there that would do a better job. So don't be disillusioned in thinking that you're the best person within your business to serve every single area. You have strengths and weaknesses as a leader. Make sure that you're serving your own strengths and make sure you're outsourcing the weaknesses.
Well, I mean, one of the key examples of people that I know have done exactly that and was humble enough to kind of move into different roles as he has throughout the career of that company. He's Gymshark, Ben Francis. So he's obviously chopped and changed his roles throughout the whole lifetime of Gymshark, where he's actually even one point said, you know what, I'm probably not the one to be spearheading the whole company at this stage. I'm going to put it to someone else. And I think you said, is he taking that back on board now? Or?
Yeah, he's back to running it. So again, two lads started in their garage printing T-shirts.
Crazy story.
I know, it's brilliant. And they wanted to create a new clothing brand that actually suited the requirements of people that went to the gym, because Adidas, Nike, Reebok, Umbro, whatever the brands were back in the day, Under Armour weren't even around then.
Bloody hell.
But I suppose they must have been actually thinking about it. But they weren't as big as they are now. And they wanted to create a niche in an already well-developed space of the fitness industry and say, we're going to hone in on gym goers. And it was a booming industry. So they got in right place, right time. So there's that element of luck there. Of course there is. But to your point, they started and they had no choice but to wear every hat within the business. But as the business grew and scaled, they knew that they needed to start bringing in outsourced help of the people that have taken a business from 0 to 1 million, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 100, now 100 to 1 billion. And, they're doing incredible things now. But once he's taken that time out of the business to then learn other facets of it, to let somebody else lead the show for a bit and increase his skills, increase his learning, he's now been able to pick up that mantle again and go back to that head position.
Respect to the guy. I mean, I love him. I mean, that facility and everything that he's built is, it's the dream. I mean, that's what my aim is, definitely. And I know yours is similar, where we want to be able to have a factory and an office space exactly like that.
One of the great things that Gymshark do as well, which I love, is they create an emotional connection to their customers, which is something that all of the biggest businesses in the world do it without you even realizing a lot of time, whether it's McDonald's with Ronald McDonald, where your kids, the happy meal, where everybody wants to go and sit and eat at McDonald's, where Gymshark are also brilliant, is they create that almost home. It's almost like that home environment for like-minded individuals who love the gym, who love working out. They're mad interested in health and fitness and growing themselves as individuals. They've created a home for all of those people where they can all connect, they can all come together. And that's why the brand has been able to grow and grow and grow, because the vision was so pure and it was so obvious what it was, where they had a group of people where the gym industry was booming, the fitness industry was booming, and there wasn't a home for all these new faces that were actually appearing in this industry. And so when they first started, they started using influencers, and genuinely, they were one of the first businesses to ever utilize influencers and fitness influencers to push their brands, which is crazy to think, where now you see everybody selling teeth whitening and VPN and all that crap on their shows. Everybody's pushing sponsorships. Gymshark were genuinely one of the first, and they created that emotional connection by bringing in your favorite fitness influencers, whether it was Christian Guzman, Jeff Side, the Hodge twins, Nikki Blackketter, whoever it was. They would bring these influencers under their brand. And then when they did shows like the Body Power Expo, which I've got a photo of one of the very first Body Power Expos they did with Lewis and Ben, who were the founders. So I'll stick that on the screen now. And that was like people's emotional connection to the brand, because they loved these fitness influencers and they just wanted to connect with whatever they were doing. And it was crazy to see it pop off. And people were literally going insane, climbing up rafters for a free t-shirt. And they were really creating an atmosphere and this connection and this emotional connection for people.
And this is what businesses need to aim to do, is create this buzz from marketing, really. But then selling a product that people are going to consume, enjoy, it's good quality. And then, because that's the longevity of any sort of business. Again, if you end up selling something that's a load of rubbish, it's never going to go anywhere. You might, bamboozle a few people. I mean, there was one, God, not long ago, I think it was last year, that someone built like a Harry Potter sort of mini world. Obviously, there's the main one in, I think it's Watford. They'd built like this place and they'd hyped it up, did all AI videos, and people turned up and it was just a load of pictures on the wall. And lo and behold, it didn't go very far. But initially they did well, but because the product was rubbish, it fell apart.
Which is exactly why we go back to strive for perfection in what you do. You need to put your customer first in everything you do as a business. Ask them questions. What does your customer want? What problems can you solve? Sticking some pictures on the wall isn't going to help anybody sort of tie or create an emotional connection to your business. They're just going to think you're a bunch of con artists and never want to work with you again or come and visit you again or consume from you again. So again, really important that the product is good. One of the other big, real important points for me when actually increasing the value of a business is making sure that the systems that are in place allow that business to function without you there. Because any good business should be able to function without the leader being present at all times. Because currently our business, being honest with you, we're not there yet. And it's something that we're actively trying to work on. But if me and you were to leave the business would cease to exist. And that's something that we really need to change. Whereas if you look at a company like McDonald's, they are so systems based. Everything they do is documented, pictured, everything from grilling a burger, how many squirts of ketchup that you need to put on each bun, how many pickles, how to use the fryer, how to put the chips into the container. Everything is pictured, systemized, and everything is de-skilled to allow anybody within that business, almost a trained monkey could come in and do the job. They've made it that easy. But the value that that brings to the business is astronomical, because anybody that comes in to buy from your business, or actually potentially even buy the business itself, they will look at the ability for that business to function on its own without you there, and that will double, triple, quadruple the business's price tag because of the fact that the systems that are in place allow it to be ran by anybody and still succeed and still not fail.
Yeah, and it's really difficult because, coming up with any sort of system takes a lot of money, especially when it's got to be as in-depth as that without, the key personnel there, like the shareholders really. So, like you've said, we've been working on that for a long, long time now. Or I say a long, long time. The system's been in a phase of since inception 2016 to now, but now's the real drive to getting to that stage where it doesn't necessarily need a shareholder or someone of key influence within the business. And when you get to that stage, like you say, yeah, exactly, that's where the value is, because I've had friends whose dads have owned businesses and they've come to sell now because they're at that retirement age. And it all looks very interesting on the surface, but when they've dug down a bit, it's a bit like, oh, who does that? Who does this? Who does the other? And it's all like, oh, my dad. And it's like, oh, so if you leave and we buy this company, then what happens? And like, well, I can stay on for a bit instead of just having the systems in place where they can just go, okay, see you later. And it's like, oh yeah, it's already sorted. And that's what they, like I say, that is the business as opposed to the person being the business.
It's super important. And that is why, Mr. Barker, your new role in the business
exactly
this year is going to be implementing as many of those systems or standard operating procedures as possible. So can't stress the importance of that. The final one from me, really, with ensuring that your business is as optimized and as valuable as possible, is understanding your pricing and understanding the value that you are offering to your customers, and never sacrifice on value and never sacrifice on cost. Understand your worth, because if you're the type of business that will buckle and kneel, and we would go back to what you said earlier with Apple, they would never discount the price of their phone. If somebody came in and said, oh, actually, I could buy a similar phone in Samsung that's similar, does similar things, but it's £100 cheaper. So can I get a discount? They just laugh and tell them to go and buy a Samsung because they are confident in what they are bringing to the table in terms of value, and they would never move. Whereas too many businesses nowadays, they give in to the customer who are telling them, oh, actually, I can get a better deal somewhere else. And if that is true, you need to be evaluating your competition, understanding what their value adds are, what they're doing, and make sure that you're going that one step further. And I always say to our team in our business, it's about doing just 10% more than everybody else. It's not a lot. It's not a great deal more work to outperform the competition that's out there. 10% is all it takes. 10% faster on your email replies, 10% faster when it comes to answering the phone and returning your customers' calls or solving a problem. 10% more value. And for me, that 10% margin will have massively compounded effects to the point where you're getting 100, 200, 300% returns on that additional 10% in every area, because your customers will perceive your business as being one of the best, and they'll pay to work with you, and they'll pay whatever it takes because they want that expertise.
I mean, exactly. I mean, and going and just extrapolating out from the 10% more, it's like making 10 phone calls a day and saying, well, I'll tell you what, I'll make 11. And on the 11th call, you get a new sale or something, just even as silly as something like that, 10% more in an email or 10% more effort. And that's what we did last year. And we've both seen a massive increase in new business from current customers and new customers as well. And that wouldn't happen if it was just making the odd call here and there, like probably most companies do. You know, like I've called companies in the past where they seem interested at the start. You'd say, oh, quote your price. And they go, oh, thanks. Yeah, we'll take it into account. And if you just left it at that, you'd never, ever get a new sale. You need to be persistent and continuously strive for the improvement and push forward, put that extra effort in.
And that's exactly what we're doing here. You know, just talking about it, and it'll spark ideas, having these conversations for us to utilize and implement in our business. But for me, it's an ongoing journey. That learning will never, ever stop. It's something that for as long as we're in business and for as long as I'm alive, to be honest with you, I'm going to continue to improve and get better in everything I do. I really hope that everything that we've discussed today has helped spark some ideas for you to utilize in your business. Or if you're not the owner of a business, remember you are still part of that business. So you can still add value to that business. And as we've mentioned in other episodes, to increase your value to that business, you will reap the rewards by way of an increased salary, potential share options or dividend options. So take the information that we've talked about today and implement it into your own business. And I promise you that you will see immediate returns, because 90% of businesses out there are not doing this. So take advantage of what your competition are failing to do. And trust me, you will see the results. I'd absolutely love to hear about some of the stories that you've got where you've implemented what we've talked about today. And please share them below, because we'd love to hear them. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.